Hey, you won't believe this. My family begged me to risk everything, my shop, my dreams, for my brother's genius startup. I put $300,000 on the line. Months later, they're homeless, he's gone, and I'm holding the bag. Betrayal. Doesn't even cover it. I'm Ethan, and this is my story. Write your city in the comments. I'm in Denver. Let's dive in. The bell above my shop door chimed, snapping me out of my inventory count. It was a quiet Wednesday in May 2025, and I'd let my part-timer, Jake, leave early. Parker's Tools and Supplies, my pride and joy, sat on the corner of 12th and Lincoln in Denver. I wiped grease off my hands with a rag, expecting Mrs. Carter, for her usual gardening gear, or maybe old Tom needing bolts for his vintage truck. Instead, my parents stood there, clutching duffel bags, looking like ghosts. Mom's mascara was smudged, and Dad's shoulders sagged like he'd aged a decade since our last barbecue 2 weeks ago. "Ethan," Dad croaked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Caleb blew it all. The bank took our house today. We've got nowhere to go." My knees buckled. I grabbed the counter, my knuckles white. $300,000. My shop. My future. Gone. "What? Do you mean blew it all?" I asked, though the answer was already clawing at my gut. Dad stared at the floor. His crypto trades. They tanked. Crypto? Not the game-changing logistics app he'd pitched? Not the startup that was supposed to redefine supply chains? My brother gambled my life savings on digital. Coins! I should have listened to Rachel, my bookkeeper. Parker's Tools has been in our family since 1960. Grandpa Joe started it with cash he'd scraped together after Vietnam, working double shifts as a mechanic. There's a faded photo behind the register. Him grinning, scissors in hand, cutting the ribbon with Grandma Ellen and a toddler Dad at his side. The shop smells like motor oil, pine, and the coffee I brew for contractors grabbing supplies at dawn. I know my customers' stories. Mrs. Lopez's shed rebuild, the Wilson's porch repair, Mr. Kim's endless fight with his 1920s bungalow's wiring. I took over 7 years ago when Dad retired. I added an online ordering system but kept the old-school charm, handwritten receipts for folks like Mrs. Carter who hate computers. When I was 12, Grandpa taught me to rekey locks. I'd stand on a crate, guiding the key cutter while his calloused hands steadied mine. "Patience, Ethan," he'd say. "Good work takes time." That was his mantra. Build slow, build strong. Serve your community and they'll keep you standing. My brother Caleb, he never cared for the shop. While I learned to thread pipe, he was coding apps in his room, winning hackathons by 16. After his MBA from UC Boulder, our parents saw him as the golden child, destined to outshine us all. I was just the steady one, keeping the shop alive. Last Thanksgiving, Dad bragged about Caleb's startup, Apex Flow, to our neighbors. "It's going to revolutionize logistics," he said, showing off photos of Caleb's sleek, low-dough office. When someone asked about the shop, he waved it off. "Ethan's got it under control." I smiled, passing the gravy, but it stung. For my 35th birthday, I got Grandpa's old pocket knife. Simple, engraved with his initials. Caleb got a leased Porsche for his 31st. I didn't mind much. I loved the shop, its creaky floors, its history. But sometimes, alone, locking up at night. I wondered if my parents saw my work as anything more than steady. 9 months ago, they called a family meeting at their Aurora split level. Mom made her lasagna, a red flag she wanted something big. After dinner, Caleb fired up his laptop showing charts of Apex Flow's projected growth. The app promised to streamline contractor deliveries with AI. He threw around buzzwords, blockchain scalability, that made Dad nod like he understood. "We need $300,000 to bridge us to the next funding round," Caleb said. I froze. That was nearly the shop's yearly revenue. "We've tapped out our savings," Dad added, leaning in. "Your mom and I can't cover it. We need you to mortgage the shop." The room went quiet. I heard the hum of their ancient fridge. "The shop's just recovering from the supply chain mess," I said. "A loan like that could sink us." Mom's eyes welled up. "Ethan, if Caleb doesn't get this, his dream dies. We might lose the house." Dad chimed in. "Grandpa always said family first. This is Caleb's shot to make it big." Caleb met my eyes. "I'll pay you back in 18 months, with interest. The numbers are solid." I looked at my parents' desperate faces. The reliable son, the one who never said no. "I'll think about it," I mumbled. 2 weeks later, I sat in First Denver Bank with Mrs. Larson, our banker for 15 years. She'd funded my online system upgrade. "You sure, Ethan?" she asked, sliding the loan papers over. "This is a big risk." My pen hovered. "It's for family," I said, signing. My stomach churned. I'd just bet Grandpa's legacy on Caleb's dream. Outside, Caleb waited in his Porsche. He hugged me. "You won't regret this, man. I swear." A month later, I saw him in a new Tesla. "Investor optics," he shrugged when I asked. Rachel noticed the trouble first. She's been my bookkeeper since high school, sharp as a tack. One night, poring over the books, she frowned. "The loan payment's due and I don't see Caleb's transfer." I avoided her gaze. "He's short on cash. I covered last month from savings." She sighed. "Ethan, I checked Apex Flow. Their app's still in beta. They've lost 2 developers and their reviews are brutal." I bristled. "He's my brother. He knows tech." Rachel didn't push, but her look said enough. I should have listened. That night, I sat in the shop's back office, staring at Grandpa's photo. The weight of his legacy crushed me. $300,000, my shop, my life. What had I done? I locked the shop door, the bells jingle mocking me as I flipped the closed sign. It was late, the Denver streetlights casting long shadows through the windows of Parker's Tools and Supplies. My hands shook as I clutched the loan papers, the ink of my signature staring back like a death warrant. $300,000. I'd mortgaged my grandfather's legacy for Caleb's sure thing. Now, 4 months later, the first payment loomed, and my brother's promises were as empty as the shop's cash drawer. I should have known when I saw his new Tesla parked outside his Lodo office, its sleek curves screaming money I'd never see again. Rachel's warning echoed in my head. She'd called it, Apex Flow was a house of cards. I'd ignored her, blinded by family loyalty. I drove to Caleb's office, hoping to catch him. The building was all glass and steel, a far cry from my shop's worn wooden counters. But when I got to the top floor, my stomach dropped. A for lease sign hung on the door. Inside, the place was gutted. Empty desks, a lone coffee cup on the floor. On Caleb's desk, I found crumpled receipts, crypto exchanges, online poker sites. My brother hadn't just failed. He'd gambled my future away. I called him. Straight. To voicemail. Texted, "We need to talk. Now." Nothing. I drove to his apartment in Rhino, heart pounding. The landlord, a gruff guy named Tony, shook his head. "Moved out last week. No forwarding address." My vision blurred. Caleb had vanished with my $300,000. I sat in my truck, gripping the steering wheel, fighting the urge to scream. How could he do this? How could I let him? Back at the shop, I dug through old storage boxes, desperate for something to ground me. Behind a stack of dusty invoices, I found a small tin box, rusted at the edges. It was Grandpa Joe's. Inside, a faded photo of him and Dad, plus a journal. Tucked between its pages was a letter, yellowed and creased from Dad to Grandpa, dated 1993. "Dad, I'm so sorry about the auto shop. I trusted Frank and it cost us. I'll pay you back. I swear I'll never let Ethan carry my mistakes." My breath caught. Dad had done this before, bet big on his brother Frank's failed venture, nearly tanking the shop. Grandpa bailed him out. History was laughing in my face. I called Uncle Ted, Dad's older brother, now retired in Colorado Springs. "Not surprised," he said, voice heavy. "Your dad was always the golden boy. When his auto shop with Frank crashed, Joe mortgaged the store to save him. Nearly lost everything. Dad swore he'd learned, but he's been chasing glory through Caleb ever since." I stared at the letter, my chest tight. "Why didn't he tell me?" Ted sighed. Shame, Ethan, and blind faith in Caleb. The next day, I tracked Caleb to a dive bar in 5 Points. He slouched at the counter, whiskey in hand, his designer jacket wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. "Ethan," he slurred, forcing a grin. "Was gonna call you." I slid onto the stool beside him. "Where's my money, Caleb?" He swirled his glass. "Crypto market crashed. Bad timing." I leaned in, voice low. "You lied. You said it was for Apex Flow, not gambling." He flinched. "I was trying to save the company. Investors were bailing. I needed a win." Something fell from his pocket. A pawn ticket. I snatched it. My blood froze. It was for Grandpa's pocket knife, the one he'd carried every day, engraved, with his initials. "You pawned my knife?" I whispered, voice shaking. Caleb looked away. Needed cash for a pitch. I was gonna get it back. I stood, towering over him. You sold our grandfather's memory for a quick buck? He said nothing. I stormed out, the ticket burning in my hand. At Dawson's pawn, Mr. Dawson, who'd known Grandpa, frowned when I showed him the ticket. Caleb brought it in 10 days ago, said it was his. Got $150. I swallowed hard. How much to buy it back? He checked. $180 with interest. My account had $97. The shop's funds were drained from covering Caleb's missed payments. Can you hold it? I asked, voice breaking. A week, he said kindly. For Joe's sake. I nodded, throat tight, and left. That night, my parents showed up at the shop, bags in hand. Mom's voice cracked. Caleb's gone. The bank. Foreclosed on our house. We invested everything in Apex Flow. I stared, numb. They'd taken a second mortgage without telling me, poured it into Caleb's scam. We just need a place to crash, Dad said, avoiding my eyes. I let them into my tiny apartment above the shop. 1 bedroom, a cramped living room, a small kitchen. I took the couch. They got my bed. After they slept, I sat in the dark shop. A bank alert glowing on my phone. Loan payment overdue. 60 days to foreclosure. I buried my face in my hands. The shop, Grandpa's legacy, my life's work, was slipping away. Caleb had gambled it all. My parents had enabled him, and I'd signed the papers. I looked at Grandpa's photo on the wall. I'm sorry, I whispered. I let you down. My hand reached for the pocket knife that wasn't there. Then something snapped inside me. No more. This ends now. The shop's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I paced the aisles, the smell of pine and metal grounding me. It was 6 a.m., the Denver skyline barely lit. Parker's Tools and Supplies was on life support, and I had 60 days to save it. My parents slept upstairs in my apartment, oblivious to the bank's foreclosure warning. Caleb's betrayal burned in my chest, $300,000 gambled away on crypto and poker sites. Grandpa's pocket knife, my most cherished heirloom, sat in a pawn shop because of him. I gripped the counter, my reflection in the glass smudged and tired. I wasn't just fighting for the shop. I was fighting for me. I called Rachel before the shop opened. I need you, I said, voice raw. She arrived in 20 minutes, her usual ponytail swapped for a messy bun, coffee in hand. David Ruiz, a lawyer and loyal customer, joined us. His dad had bought nails here in the 70s. I laid it all out, the loan, Caleb's lies, my parents' secret mortgage, the pawned knife. Rachel's eyes widened. He pawned Joe's knife? David adjusted his glasses. The loan's in your name, Ethan. Caleb's got no legal obligation to pay. I slammed my fist on the counter. He bankrupted me. Rachel put a hand on my arm. We saved the shop first. They jumped into action. Rachel pored over the books, slashing non-essentials. Fancy coffee for contractors, extra inventory. We can skip the spring expo, she said. Saves $5,000. David mapped out a debt restructuring plan. Consolidate your personal loans. Freeze up $800 a month. Both refused payment. This shop got my daughter her first summer job, David said. I owe you. Their kindness hit like a punch. For years, I'd felt invisible next to Caleb. Now my community was stepping up. I worked like a man possessed. 16-hour days at the shop, then handyman gigs on Sundays, fixing fences, patching drywall. I sold my gaming console, my mountain bike, anything I could spare. Every dollar went to 2 things: the loan payment and getting Grandpa's knife back. My hands blistered from hauling lumber. My back ached, but I kept going. Each night, I'd collapse on the couch, my parents' soft snores drifting from my bedroom. They hadn't offered to help yet. I didn't ask. One morning, I overheard a conversation at Maggie's diner, 2 guys in suits, sipping coffee. Apex Flow was a scam, one said. CEO blew the funds on crypto trades. My heart stopped. I approached, voice tight. You know Apex Flow? The guy, Mark Ellis, nodded. I invested early, pulled out when I saw Caleb diverting funds. He told us the $300,000 was family money, no strings. My jaw clenched. I'm Ethan, his brother. That was my shop's money. Mark's face fell. I'm sorry, man. He lied to everyone. I drove to the pawn shop, $180 scraped together from a weekend deck job. Mr. Dawson handed me Grandpa's knife, its engraved initials glinting. Joe was a saint, he said. Gave me credit when my store was new. No interest. I clutched the knife, tears pricking my eyes. "Thanks," I choked out. Back at the shop, I locked it in the safe. No one would take it again. But the victory felt hollow. The bank's deadline loomed and Caleb was still dodging me. That night, I called a family meeting. Mom and Dad sat at my tiny kitchen table looking frail. Caleb, who I'd tracked to a motel after threatening to call his old investors, slouched in a chair. I set out the evidence: Grandpa's journal, Dad's old letter about his failed venture, the pawn ticket, the shop's overdue loan notice. "This ends now," I said, voice steady. Dad bristled. "What's this about?" I slid the letter to him. "You did this before. Risked the shop for Uncle Frank. Promised I'd never be in this spot. But here we are." Mom gasped, covering her mouth. Dad's face paled. "Where'd you find that?" "Grandpa's things," I said. "You should have told me." I turned to Caleb. "You gambled my future, pawned my knife." He stared at the floor. "I was trying to save Apex Flow," he muttered. "Crypto was a quick fix." I laughed, bitter. A quick fix that cost our parents their house. Mom started crying. "We just wanted Caleb to succeed." I shook my head. "At my expense." The air was thick. I placed Grandpa's knife on the table. "This isn't about money, it's about trust. You all broke it." I looked at Caleb. "You've got two choices. Walk away, we're done. Or work at the shop, minimum wage, to pay me back." His eyes widened. "Work here? I've got an MBA. "And I've got a failing shop because of you," I shot back. Dad tried to speak. I cut him off. "You both enabled this. You find part-time jobs, and we start counseling. No more favorites." Silence. Mom nodded, tears streaming. Caleb stared out the window, jaw tight. Finally, Dad spoke, voice low. "I broke my promise to Joe. To you. I'm sorry, Ethan." It was the first time he'd admitted fault. My throat burned, but I held firm. Words don't fix this. Actions do. I looked at them all. Grandpa built this shop to last. I won't lose it because I couldn't say no. The weight of my words settled. For the first time, I felt in control. The shop's bell jingled as I opened Parker's Tools and Supplies at 7 a.m., the Denver air crisp. My hands still ached from yesterday's handyman gig, fixing a porch in Arvada. The $300,000 loan payment loomed like a guillotine, 45 days left. Before foreclosure, Grandpa's pocket knife, now safe in a locked drawer, was my anchor. I'd reclaimed it, but saving the shop felt like climbing a mountain in a blizzard. Caleb's betrayal, my parents' blind faith, it all stung, but I was done being the family doormat. Rachel and David were my lifeline. Rachel slashed more costs, canceled the shop's Wi-Fi, negotiated cheaper utilities. "We've got $2,000, breathing room," she said, her eyes fierce. David worked pro bono, calling the bank to delay payments. "They'll give you 30 extra days if you show good faith," he said. I nodded, grateful, but the math still didn't add up. I took on more side jobs, plumbing, deck repairs, working Sundays until my back screamed. Every cent went to the loan or shop bills. My parents started small. Dad got a part-time gig at a community center sorting donations. Mom dusted off her sewing machine, taking alteration jobs. They moved to a tiny studio nearby, freeing my apartment. "We'll help," Mom said, voice shaky. I wanted to believe her, but their silence during Caleb's spiral left scars. Caleb shockingly showed up at the shop. "I'll work," he muttered, avoiding my eyes. I handed him an apron. "Start sweeping. $15 an hour." He grimaced but grabbed the broom. A week later, I caught him fixing our clunky inventory system. "This software's ancient," he grumbled, typing code on my old laptop. By day's end, it ran smoother, saving me hours. I didn't thank him. Not yet. Trust was earned, not given. At Maggie's diner, I overheard another investor bashing Apex Flow. "Caleb's a con," the guy said. I didn't approach this time. My focus was survival, not chasing ghosts of my brother's lies. One night, alone in the shop, I found a note in Grandpa's journal. "Build to last, not to shine." It hit hard. Dad had chased shine through Caleb, ignoring the shop's quiet strength. I called a family meeting. Mom, Dad, and Caleb sat in my cramped living room. I set Grandpa's knife and journal on the table. "This shop is my line in the sand," I said. No more excuses. Caleb, you're here until the loan's paid. Mom, Dad, counseling starts next week. Dad's eyes dropped. I failed you, Ethan. I saw myself in Caleb, not you. His honesty cut deep, but it was a start. Caleb shifted. I screwed up, okay? I'm trying. I pointed to the journal. Grandpa lost sleep bailing Dad out. I won't repeat that cycle. Mom reached for my hand. We're proud of you. I pulled. Big improve it. The words hung heavy, but I felt lighter. Boundaries weren't betrayal, they were salvation. The Denver sunrise painted the shop's windows gold as I unlocked Parker's tools and supplies. 30 days until the bank's foreclosure deadline. My hands, calloused from side gigs, gripped Grandpa's pocket knife in my pocket, its weight a reminder of what I was fighting for. The $300,000 loan was a noose, but I wasn't choking yet. Rachel's cost-cutting and David's legal maneuvering had bought time, but the numbers were brutal. I needed a miracle to save the shop. Caleb surprised me. He showed up daily, no longer, whining about the 6 a.m. starts. He'd rebuilt our inventory system, cutting restock time by half. Customers noticed. Mr. Lopez even tipped him for finding rare bolts. Not bad, kid, I said, testing the waters. Caleb smirked. Don't get used to it. But I saw it. A flicker of pride, not arrogance. He was learning the shop's rhythm, the value of steady work. Still, I kept my guard up. Trust was a long road. Mom and Dad stepped up, too. Dad's community center job turned into a passion for organizing veteran events. Mom's alterations business grew. She was sewing curtains for half the neighborhood. At our first family counseling session, tensions boiled. You made Caleb the star, I said, voice tight. Dad winced. I thought he'd lift us all, Mom cried. We didn't see you, Ethan. It hurt, but airing it felt like lancing a wound. We agreed to keep going. Rachel had an idea, a community repair workshop. Teach locals basic fixes, plumbing, drywall, charge $20 a head. We set it up in the shop's back room. 10 people came the first night, mostly young homeowners. Caleb, to my shock, volunteered to demo pipe repairs. Learned it from YouTube, he shrugged. The class sold out. We made $200 plus new customers. Rachel grinned. This could work. I saw Grandpa's legacy in action, building community, not just profits. One evening, a regular Mrs. Carter brought in a local investor, Tom Hayes. Heard you're in a bind, Tom said. I've shopped here for 20 years. Joe is a friend. He offered to buy a 25% stake in the shop for $100,000, enough to cover 2 loan payments and keep us afloat. I hesitated. Grandpa never had partners, but Rachel nodded. It's this, or lose it. I shook Tom's hand, heart pounding. A lifeline, not a handout. At our next family meeting, I laid out the plan. Tom's investment buys us time. Caleb, you're on workshops with me. Mom, Dad, keep your jobs. We rebuild together. Dad looked at Grandpa's journal on the table. I forgot Joe's rule. Build to last. Caleb met my eyes. I'm in, Ethan. No more scams. For the first time, I believed him. The shop wasn't safe yet, but I felt it. A spark of hope, like the dawn breaking over Denver. The Denver sky glowed orange as I flipped the open sign at Parker's Tools and Supplies. 2 weeks until the bank's extended deadline. Tom Hayes' $100,000 investment had staved off foreclosure, but the $300,000 loan still loomed. My hands, rough from endless side gigs, brushed Grandpa's pocket knife in my pocket. It was my talisman, a reminder of why I fought. The shop hummed with new life. Rachel's repair workshops packed the back room, and Caleb, unbelievably, was pulling his weight. But I wasn't out of the woods yet. Caleb had transformed. He ran workshops like a pro, teaching kids to fix leaks with a patience I didn't know he had. Customers loved him. Mrs. Lopez called him the tech whiz with a wrench. He built a simple app linking locals with contractors, nothing like Apex Flow's empty promises. It brought in $1,000 in referral fees. This one's real, he said, handing me the check. I nodded, wary but hopeful. Trust was creeping back, one small step at a time. Mom and Dad were different, too. Counseling cracked open old wounds. Dad's favoritism, Mom's silence. Dad admitted he'd pushed Caleb to chase glory to erase his own failures. I dimmed your light, Ethan, he said, voice breaking. Mom started volunteering at the shop, organizing tools with a quiet pride. They paid rent on their studio, easing my load. Family dinners felt lighter. No more Caleb worship. Just talk of Dad's veteran events and Mom's sewing gigs. Then, the twist hit. Rachel found a box in the shop's attic, Grandpa's old files. Inside, a faded deed caught my eye. A vacant lot next door bought by Grandpa in 1965, forgotten after his death. I called David Ruiz, our lawyer. "It's worth $200,000 today," he said after checking records. "Sell it, and you clear most of the loan." My heart raced. Grandpa had left me a lifeline from beyond the grave. But there was a catch. The deed was in Dad's name, not the shop's. I confronted Dad at the shop. "Why didn't you tell me?" He looked floored. "I forgot it existed. After Frank's flop, I buried everything from that time." His eyes welled up. "Sell it, Ethan. Save the shop." I hesitated. This was my chance, but it meant trusting him again. At the family meeting that night, I laid out the deed, Grandpa's knife, and the loan papers. "This lot saves us," I said, "but we do it right. No secrets." Caleb spoke up. "I'll handle the sale. No fees. I owe you." Mom nodded. "We're in, Ethan. The lot sold in days, $210,000. I paid off $200,000 of the loan, restructured the rest. The shop was safe. I added a sign under Parker's Tools, Esther 1960, Build to Serve. That night, Dad handed me a letter he'd written to Grandpa, never sent. "I failed you, Joe. But Ethan didn't. He's the man you raised." I hugged him, tears falling. Caleb joined, then Mom. For the first time, we were equals. Today, the shop thrives. Workshops are booked out, Caleb's app grows, and I'm planning a tool library for kids. Grandpa's knife sits by the register, a beacon of resilience. I broke the cycle, not with anger, but with boundaries and love. Some mornings I stand outside watching the sunrise hit the sign. I saved more than a shop, I saved us. And here it is, the finale of today's story. Did everything turn out as you imagined, or did it end unexpectedly? I'd love to hear what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's dive into the discussion together. If this story kept you in suspense, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? This is your chance to join an incredible community where exciting new stories unfold every day. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date. Thanks for your attention, and see you on your new adventures.